Hi everyone. Hello, how's everyone doing? Hi Henry Cameron. Hi
Hello,
Dawn.
love.
Hello Henry Cameron. Hi Dawn. First time. Lovely to see you here. Thank you for coming. Hello Robin. Lovely to see you. David. Oh, we're like old friends now, David. Lovely to see you. Same with Stanley, who's now also on a treadmill. So yes, we're in
Dawn,
the
there's a book
treadmill
cover
gang. I'm
slightly
so
off for
happy.
you.
Keith, I've not seen you in what feels like years. Welcome, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Oh, we have Alex's. We don't have an Alex in the room, so why do you have Alex's note taker? Oh, let me
Get the
just.
book cover and website ready for Amazing Grip by tomorrow.
Sorry. What was that? Someone spoke there, I thought, but never mind. I'm just going to put the note taker. There we go. Oh, we've got Katrina on her way as well. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to just wait for a couple of more minutes to see who else is joining us. So welcome, got a number of familiar faces, a couple of new faces as well. So what I encourage you to do is while I'm waiting to see who else is going to be joining us today, I'm only going to let the room go for another couple of minutes, but just go into the chat now and tell me what you would like to gain from today's session. So obviously we're talking about how authors can get media attention, but is there anything specifically within that you want to gain? Maybe you have a question or some feedback. Maybe you've got media attention before. Was it good? Was it bad? Put it into the chat now, because it just means that I can make sure that everyone gets what they need from this session. I'm sure you didn't just come to see me because you thought, oh, I'll just go and keep Matali company. If you did, thank you. But that's not really the reason why you came here. You came here to get something from today's session. You're giving me 45 minutes of your valuable time. Hello, Katrina. Love to see you again, my love. So do go into the chat and put in what you'd like to gain from today's session. And then that helps me structure it a little bit and make sure everybody goes away getting what they needed from this session. And it's a particularly juicy topic that we can't cover in 45 minutes. I may even do a future forum on that topic, and then that way we can cover it then. Okay, so thank you so much for that. Oh, we've already got quite a few. Let's have a look. So it's all new to me, so my ears are open. Absolutely, David. That's great. Keith, I've got a new book. Oh, congratulations, Keith. So best way of getting interest in book launch event. Fantastic. Robin, hi everyone. Just published my book. Excellent. I can see it behind you, Robin. Well done. Congratulations. Just published a book and heard about this group yesterday, so I'll come along to see what I can learn and to connect with others. And Henry Cameron says, how to be your own publicist. Exactly. That's what today is all about, because I was lucky enough to have a budget when my book came out. I had a budget for a PR expert because I was lazy and I couldn't be bothered doing it. So I was like, I have a budget, somebody else can deal with it or deal it for me. I'd rather not bother. But some people don't have that privilege. So I want to help as many people as possible. And I want to show you that if you've got a bit of a budget, it's always great getting a pro in. They can do so much more in such a shorter space of time than you can do. However, if you don't have a budget, a lot of it can be done yourself, okay? So thank you for that. So let me get started. So give me 2 minutes. Where is my share button? Oh, there you are. I can now see it. Okay, so let me start sharing my screen. Okay, so can you all see this? Excellent. So I will ask just for the next few moments if you can all put yourself on mute. Some of you will be aware I'm on a treadmill. I don't want any loud noises because then I'm going to end up in that bookshelf, which is not what you want to see. So therefore, just for the next few moments, while I just go through a few slides, if you can go on to mute, that'd be helpful. And then obviously after that, you'll be able to come off mute. I want you to get involved. This is not is a workshop or a masterclass. Nothing wrong with those. I do plenty of masterclasses and workshops for various different groups of people around the world. However, the reason why I created my own forum, a weekly forum, is because I actually get sick of hearing myself speak sometimes, and I actually want to hear from other people. So the whole point of this forum is, yes, I do a little presentation in the beginning, but then it's all about you getting involved and giving me your experiences and your feedback and really creating a roundtable or forum. That's why I called it the Thought Leader Author Forum. Okay, so let me just start the slides. Here we go. So first of all, welcome to the Thought Leader Author Forum. A number of familiar faces, but a couple of new faces as well. So welcome. So The familiar faces will be aware of how this works, but for the couple of new people, oh, we've got 2 more people that have just entered. So let me just admit those people. Okay. So the people who've been here before will know how it works. Before the new people, the forum is in 2 parts. So the first part is we talk about the topic of today. So today's topic is all about how authors use their books to get media attention. Okay. And then part 2, my favorite bit, that is when you can come off mute and get involved. Give me your questions, give me your feedback. Explain if you've had media attention before. Was it good? Was it bad? How did you get it? It all helps you and it helps everybody else in the room as well. So do get involved. Okay. And for all the people who've turned up today, if you want to take notes, by the way, feel free to take notes. Okay. I'm a doodler. I'm the sort of person that if I just watch, things don't go into my brain. Henry Cameron's nodding his head as well. He's a doodler as well. I like doodle. Even though I know I don't need to take notes, sometimes I take notes just for the sake of it. So if you're like me, feel free to take notes. However, you don't need to. Because you've come today, my assistant, who should be in the crowd somewhere, Joyce, will make sure she sends you out this report tomorrow morning. So everything that I go into today will be covered in the report.
In this list, you're going to want to click GP.
Oh, okay. I think we've gone on silent now. So yes, you don't have to take notes. If you want to just sit back, relax, have a cup of tea, coffee, drink of water, whatever it is you've got, feel free to do that because everything will be sent to you tomorrow morning. And also just to thank you for coming to the forum today. The Vegan Publisher, my team and I, we partner with an amazing organization called B1G1. And what they do is they allow us to give back in very tangible form whenever something happens within our business. So as far as I'm concerned, you've given me 45 minutes of your day today. That is a win for me. So therefore, just to thank you for coming to the forum today, you can pick one of these incredible causes and we will donate on your behalf. So it costs you nothing apart from a few clicks. Or that's all it costs you, but we will donate on your behalf depending on which cause you want. In fact, what I'll do is let me just put this. I'm actually going to put this into the chat now. So there it is. I'll put this into the chat now and then do just go and pick a cause right now. It's literally just a case of picking one of the impacts that you're interested in and we will make a donation of your choice and we will make it for you. Okay, so thank you very much for doing that. Okay, so what I did earlier this week is I asked my audience, I want to see whether media attention is something that my audience crave or actually go out and do. So this is really, really interesting and very pleasing for me. So 77% said yes several times, which I was very happy about because I thought, oh, this is good. Because when I ran this poll earlier this year, it was less. It was still around 51%, 52% that said yes several times, but it wasn't as many. So it's good. It means that over this year, more of my audience are realizing that actually getting media attention is a really, really good idea. So we had 77% say yes several times, 12% said yes once, and 12% said no. I had a number of comments, but there's a couple of comments that really piqued my interest. So we had Caro who said, media attention has been invaluable for raising the awareness of my business and connecting with potential customers. I found that having a clear message and a compelling story to share is crucial for attracting media interest. It sure is. Pat has a very, very interesting experience, one that maybe you can relate to. So I was interviewed at the salon for TV once about the growing trend for vegan beauty products, as Essentials is a vegan salon. I assume that's the name of her salon. I can't say it really generated more clients, but was an interesting experience. I really want to put that in there because that's one of the biggest drawbacks. When I speak to business owners and they say, oh, I like the idea of getting media attention, but I'm not sure if it's worth my time. I don't really know whether it's going to generate more clients. I've even had some business owners say that they've had media attention and it generated no clients. Okay. So this is one of the reasons some business owners shy away from media attention because they think, well, maybe my money and my time and energy could be put to better use elsewhere. Maybe doing ads, for example, which is more tangible. You can literally see how many clicks you're getting and how many of those clicks actually turn into sales of some sort. So it's very tangible, whereas media attention is not so tangible. I think that's one of the reasons why so many business owners shy away from it. But I want you to show you how to do it in a way that's tangible and sustainable as well, because it is big. You should really look at media attention. So this is something that I created to help me, and then I found it helped a lot of my clients to really understand how to become their own PR expert. Okay. And this is something that I want you to internalize. What I tend to see a lot of business owners do is they do PR in bursts. So they go crazy for it for about a month, and then they don't do anything. And then they wonder why that media attention didn't work for them. It's better to be sustainable rather than go crazy for an entire month. It's best to do something all the time and just keep it going and build it up. That's why I created the Media Machine. And as you'll see, machine is an acronym. And the reason I use acronyms is my brain's like a sieve. You know, information goes in and information drops out. It's really frustrating. I wish all the information that I learned will stay in my brain, but it never does. So I learned from a very early age that if I create acronyms or alliteration, then it helps me remember stuff. So think of the machine, the media machine. That's what you're trying to create, a media or a PR machine. And the machine just carries on. It doesn't stop, it doesn't start, it just carries on. So that's what you're trying to create. And if you focus on this, and I'm going to go through every single part so you understand what the machine stands for. If you do all of these, and some of my clients have done, and I'll give you a case study at the end of someone who's really used the media machine. And now she doesn't even have to really do much to get PR and media attention. Okay, so let's get started. So the first M from machine is become me focused. Become me focused. Now, this is actually very interesting because we've got a couple of authors. We've got somebody who's just published their book and someone who's about to publish their book in October. So this is going to be very helpful for you guys. Okay, so it can be a little bit bewildering because now I'm old enough to remember when there was only 4 TV channels. In the UK, I'm talking about here, by the way, because we'll go an international audience here. But yeah, I remember now it's like I actually don't know how many channels there are. It's ridiculous the number of channels there are. And that's just talking about TV. If you talk about any kind of media avenue, it's just exponentially larger now. It can be very overwhelming. I've seen so many people become overwhelmed. It's like, where do I even start? There's so many avenues, so many media channels that I can go after. Where do I start? Focus on you. Okay, this is what I mean by being me focused. What magazines do you read? What TV channels do you watch? What YouTube channels are you subscribed to? What podcasts do you download? Focus on you. That will significantly narrow down. That's first of all, it reduces overwhelm. But secondly, because you're already a fan, as it were, of that particular media channel, when you approach them, that's going to come across. You're going to be able to say things like, say, for example, you're approaching a podcast host and you want to be on their podcast. You can say things like, oh, I particularly love this episode from 2 months ago where you interviewed that person. Or I found that really profound when this person said that. You will have all of that information in your back pocket because you already are a consumer of that content. So focus on what you like first. Are there any, I don't know, there could be some industry periodicals that you read. Okay, or it could be a particular influencers that you follow who are huge in your niche. Whatever it is, use that to your advantage. Not only, like I said, not only will it reduce the overwhelm. I do this with a lot of my clients when they have a book and they go, oh my God, where should I go? It's like, well, what do you do? Tell me about your media consumption, because we're all, by the way, every single one of us are now voracious media consumers. We can't help it. It's thrown at us every single day. So you are already consuming content. Where are you consuming content? Start there first. And those people are more likely to say yes to you because they're going to know just from your interaction with you that you are a fan, you are a consumer of their content. You're not just someone who just turned up and saying, hey, can you interview me? Hey, can you do an article about me? You actually will be able to very easily demonstrate that you are a consumer of their content. And flattery, trust me, flattery gets you everywhere when it comes to this sort of thing. So the first step is M for me focused. Now, if we move on to A, that becomes become attractive to the media. Now, what do I mean by attractive? Sadly, what I see a lot of business owners do is they kind of focus on what is attractive to them. So, for example, say you've doubled your turnover in 2024. I mean, that's huge. Don't get me wrong. I mean, well done, pat on the back and everything. But is that something that a newspaper journalist is all that interested in? Do they think their readers will care that you've doubled your turnover? Do they think they will care that you've added a new department to your business? It's got to be far more interesting than that. So you need to think about ways to become attractive to the media. Now, if you've launched a book or about to launch a book, this is really good news, because that is something that is attractive to the media. There's something about a book launch, or especially a book that's been well done, that the media are interested in. So that in itself is an event. If you don't have a book coming out, think about things that you can do. So a very good friend of mine, Katrina Fox, who actually did a lot of my PR for the second edition of my book, she does something called newsjacking. And this is something a lot of PR experts do. What they do is they see what's in the news right now, and they see how your stories can align to that news. So keep your ears to the ground and see what news stories are coming up, and then see, is there anything that you do that links to that? That now makes you attractive to the media. Yeah. So if you go back to the original story, the example I gave, you've doubled your turnover. Great for you. That's not news. However, if you've doubled your turnover and you find that you're in a niche where a big report has come out recently that industry is dying away, but you're booking the trend and you've doubled your turnover, now you are news. Can you see the difference? You doubling your turnover, not news. You doubling your turnover in spite of the industry that you're in at the moment, because there's already been a big expose about that industry, now you're news. So think of ways you can do that. It's so much easier, by the way, if you're an author, then it's great. You don't have to look at things like this. But, well, actually, you can still do that, by the way. That's what Katrina does. Even with authors, what she'll do is like, what's the big news at the moment? And she'll link their book to whatever big news out. And again, that just adds extra fuel to the fire. So become attracted to the media. Think like a journalist. Really, really put yourself in their shoes. You know, a lot of people, when they create press releases or they approach journalists or they approach YouTube influencers and they want to be interviewed, all they're thinking about is themselves. I want exposure. Well, sure you do. Of course you do. But you've got to think about that content creator as well. They're not creating content for their health. Trust me, it's hard work. I wouldn't be an influencer. The amount of content that they're producing every single day just makes my head spin. So you've got to think from their point of view, and they're wanting to keep their subscribers happy, their fans happy. So you've got to really be cognizant of that and not just think about yourself. So A is become attracted to the media. See, this I love. I had to put this in. Keep your cool. Do keep it cool. I had one client, bless her. This is this will be going back to 2021. She launched a book in June 2021 and she went crazy. She found some statistics somewhere, which is a true statistic, that said that when you launch a book, it's hot, if you want to call it, it's hot from a media point of view for 3 months, and then it starts to wane. She read, now that is true, by the way, but she took it to the nth degree. She thought like, oh my God, if I don't say yes to every single interview and do every single thing that I need to do in 3 months, then I'm not going to have the chance. She ended up nearly in hospital. Her husband had to nearly take her to hospital because he was worried about her health, because she was that burnt out after 3 months. Please don't do that, because all that happened was she got loads of media attention for 3 months and then she had to recuperate for 6 months afterwards. She would have been better off doing little and often and having a sustainable media impact than going crazy for 3 months and then disappearing off the planet. Okay, so don't do what that client of mine did. I mean, bless her, she thought she was doing the right thing, but she ended up making herself physically ill over it. So do keep your cool. Yes, a book does, in general, it is hot for 3 months. However, there are little things that you can do. You can create a second edition a year after and get media attention all over again. You can get, as your book builds traction, maybe you meet someone in your industry who's a bit of a big deal in your industry and you get them to write a foreword for your book. Now you can have a different version of your book. And again, you can get media attention. So don't think of it as you've literally got 3 months and there's nothing more. And if you don't get it done in 3 months, that's not a great way to think. It's not sustainable. Your health is important. What's the point in having so much visibility, but then you can't do anything with that visibility because you're now ill? It's just pointless. So please do keep you cool. Don't do what this client of mine did and make herself ill. Start close to home. So the H in machine is for home. Start close to home. This is a big one. I think this is because we now live in such a global world. I mean, I do as well. I'm more likely to know what is happening in the Middle East right now, for example, or what's happening in the US with the elections, than I am to know what's happening literally in my city. I'm in the northeast of England, in a city called Gateshead, close to another city called Newcastle. If you tell me, like, so what happened over the last month in Newcastle and Gateshead, I go, no idea. I don't actually know what's happened. That's literally my back. It's my backyard, and yet I'm more likely to know what's happening on the other side of the planet now than I'm what's happening locally. And that now affects how we consume media. Most of us are consuming national and international media, so we think that's where we need to go. We don't. Start close to home. There are so many local TV channels, radio channels. There are local influencers, local podcasters. Start close to home. Those people are really experiencing such a dearth of content. They're screaming out for content and they don't get content because people just now look nationally and internationally. They're screaming out for content. You can approach these people and they're more likely to say yes because they need content. So they're easy pickings, they're low hanging fruit. The other great thing about starting close to home is if you're new to this and you're not really media trained, make your mistakes at home. Okay, a lot of people, I've even had some people say, oh, there's no point going to a local TV channel because, like, only 5 people watch it. It's like, good, it means you can make all your mistakes, only 5 people watched it. Okay, so make your mistakes close to home, cut your teeth there, so then by the time you build traction, you start going to the bigger players, you're now a polished media machine. Yeah, so start close to home. The other thing is some people say, well, yeah, okay, so it's a great training ground, but hardly anybody watches the local TV or no one really listens to the local radio shows. So what's the point? I'm doing this for visibility. It's not always about what you do at that point, it's what you do with it. Somebody said to me recently that she's doing her very first talk, but then she talked it down to me. She said, oh, there's only going to be about 20 people in the crowd. And I said, and who cares? Oh, got somebody else coming in. And I said, who cares? She said, well, there's only going to be like less than 20 people. So I'm wondering if it's the point. It's good for training. So I'm going to do it. But I don't really see the point. I said, okay, what I want you to do is like, you've got a couple of teenagers in your family. She's like, yes, I do. So what I want you to do is I want you to get both your teenagers, pay them about 20 quid for the day. And I want them to come over and from different angles, I want them to just video you speaking. Then I'm going to give you a software. It's quite cheap. You can put your video in and it will literally create stills from the film. And then now you've got all of these speaker images. I want you to plaster them on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. And I want you to put speaker on your profile on LinkedIn because you're now a speaker. It's not about the fact that she was going to speak, she's speaking in front of less than 20 people. It's what she does with that, the clout that she can get from that, the images and the videos she can create of that actually now show other event organizers who may have far bigger crowds that this lady knows what she's doing. She speaks well, she's eloquent, she's an expert in her field. Maybe I should book her. In the same way, think of your local TV channels, your local radio channels, your local influencers, your local bloggers. See them in the same way. Yes, they may not have reach. Yes, they may not have loads and thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people watching what they do or reading what they do. It doesn't matter. Create a media room. In fact, I think I've actually put a copy. Here we go. In fact, should I show it? Would you guys be interested in seeing my media room so you know what it looks like? That, yeah, okay, let me come out of this and I'll actually show, rather than just show you a slide of it, I might as well show you my media room because that makes a lot more sense. So let me just go to my website and then my media room, here it is. So this is my media room. And this is basically, I've got a system to update it, but you can do it yourself. And literally every single show that I'm on, so I've got a few pictures of myself. So if any journalist or any media person comes onto here, they've already got images that they can use if they want to use it. But then literally any articles that are written about me, my assistant just takes a snapshot of it and sticks it on here. That's something that you can do as well. She also goes in and puts in, any podcasts I've been on, again, grabs an image of the podcast, puts it on. She links to all the podcasts and shows and TV shows and radio shows that I've done where there's a recording, and then my bios at the end. It's very simple, as you can see. It's not exactly this isn't rocket science, guys. You can build a media page. Now imagine if you go to a lot of these local places, it doesn't matter if 5 people watched you on local TV. That's irrelevant. You can use those places close to home to build out a fantastic media page. So then when you start approaching the nationals and the bigger media players, you can send this link and they go, oh, okay, so she's only been in a few local places, but she's been in a few local places. Actually, I've got a few internationals here now. But obviously, when I started off, it was just a few small podcasts and radio shows I'd done. But I started to build my page. So let me just go back to this. So don't see it as, oh, well, what's the point in going for local media players because they hardly have much of an audience. Not only is it a great training ground for you to cut your teeth, but also you can leverage that, build out a media page. So then when you go to the bigger players, they can see that you're not completely wet behind the ears and they're more willing to take a chance on you. Okay. The I for machine is internet. And I'm only speaking, I would say, to people who are 35 and over. Sorry if that sounds a little bit ageist. I've noticed people under 35 never forget the internet because they were brought up around it. If they're under 25, they've literally been born with it around them. So they don't forget the internet. But I've noticed where people who tend to be 35 and older, I'm in my mid-40s. So we are guilty of sometimes forgetting the internet. We tend to think when we think of media, we tend to think of TV, radio, print. Those are the three we tend to think of. We forget that actually there are now YouTube channels that have more subscribers and more viewers than major network channels. There are blogs that have more readers and more hits per month than national newspapers. So ignore the internet at your peril. You are leaving so much visibility and therefore so many profits and so much impact on the table when you ignore the internet. Okay. So like I said, that's really for your 35 and older. Sorry to be a little bit ageist, but just something I've noticed with my clients. Anyone who's under 35, they're like, of course, they can pretty much they're consuming so many blogs, and so they're already subscribed to so many YouTube channels, and they have their favorite influencers. But I've noticed after 35, we're less likely to do that. And then we forget that the internet is so huge, and we need to not just focus on traditional media, we need to look at the internet as well. Next one. So the N in machine is give notice to the media outlets. Okay, I'm always amazed how many people, they launch a book or something happens in their business, or maybe they've partnered with a non-profit or whatever, and they're literally, it's like, yes, this is happening next week, can you cover it? No, they can't cover it. Content creators literally live and die by their content. That means they will usually have content backed up for several weeks. They've already got things in the pipeline. They have to, because that is their livelihood. Okay, you're not making content for the sake of content. When you make content, you're doing it for your business. They are making content for the sake of content. That is it. That's their thing for them. So they cannot afford to have lulls. They can't afford to have a couple of weeks where they have no content, which means they literally will have content. They have a content pipeline. Some will have 2-3 weeks in advance. Some even will have 2-3 months in advance. So you just rocking up a week before and saying, hey, this amazing thing is happening. Not only can they not cover it, it's also insulting to them. If they're nice, they may not say anything. If they're not nice, they'll tell you to your face to get lost. But most people are nice and they won't actually tell you, but they'll just either ignore you or make excuses as to why they're not going to cover you. Okay? Be respectful of these people. I come from a journalist background. I was a journalist in the noughties, and the number of times I would get press releases. It's like, oh, I'm speaking at this event. It's happening in 4 days. What the hell do you expect me to do with that? Obviously, I was too nice to tell them to get lost, but I would just ignore them. Or if they kept pestering me, I would just say, sorry, I can't cover it. And I just leave it. So be respectful. Think in terms of at least 4 or 5 weeks in advance, and ideally even longer notice. Please give people notice, give them the respect. These content creators are just creating content at a voracious scale. And their biggest fear, the thing that keeps them up at night is, I don't have content. I've got nothing to publish. I've got nothing to say. That is their biggest fear. That is the thing that keeps them up at night, which is why they have a pipeline of content. Respect that. And if you want to get in front of them, respect their time and say, okay, this is happening in 7 weeks' time. I thought I'd get in touch with you. Do you think you can cover this? What do you need from me to make this happen? Give them that time to reach out and go, okay, well, do you have a bio? Do you have pictures? Do you have, and just have that collaborative effect with them. And trust me, you'll be amazed how many of those people want to cover your speech, your book, whatever it is that you're doing in your business, your nonprofit, the impact that you're making. Just give them the respect of time and notice, okay? Final E, this is the one, final E, final letter of machine, that's what I mean, which is E. Ask for endorsements. I'm always amazed how many people don't do this. So one thing I do, every podcast that I go on, at the end, once the recording is stopped, and usually the podcast host say, was that okay? Were you happy with that? I'm like, yeah, I was happy without you. Would it be okay if I just, because usually we're on Zoom or something like that, I'd be like, would it be okay if you just did a quick endorsement of me, just like a minute saying like what I was like to interview. Some of them even say, oh, actually, I'll just do it right now. We're on Zoom now. I might as well just record it now. And they record it on the spot. Other times, if they're in a rush, it's like, I'll get it done by the end of the week. Get endorsements, not just podcast hosts. I'm talking about anybody. If you speak to a journalist and just then say, well, was that good? Was that good? Was I a good interviewee there? And the journalist hopefully will say, yeah, that was really good. I'd love just a few lines just to endorse it so I can then speak to other journalists and get my thoughts and my thought leadership and my impact out there. You'll be amazed how many journalists be like, well, yeah, absolutely. I can put a couple of lines together for you. Always ask for endorsements. People forget to do that. Something that I didn't used to do. I used to get interviewed and then thought that was my job done. But if that person has enjoyed interviewing you, or they enjoyed creating an article about you, or whatever it is that they've done for you, why not ask them just to put together a couple of lines, whether it's written or on video format? I find video is the best, simply because video, first of all, anybody can create a few lines. And I've seen that people have apparently got endorsements from loads of people. I'm like, who are these people? I don't even know who these people are. So video is more real because you've actually got a real person saying it. But also remember that video is easy to do. You can just get on a Zoom with somebody just for a few minutes and they just say something nice about you and it's recorded. And then you can get the transcript and turn it into text if you wanted to as well. So my favorite is video, but I'll leave that up to you to decide how you want to play it. But don't be afraid to ask for endorsements from podcast hosts, from radio hosts, from TV producers. You get those endorsements, that's going to then allow you to get even more media attention, because you can say, oh, I was interviewed by this journalist and they said this about me. Let me send you that video. I'd love to be on your show as well. Can you see how that makes someone go, oh, wow, that person's already, okay, there's an endorsement here. Okay, so that is a really cool ninja trick, if you want to call it that. Something that I've only started doing in the last year or so, but it's really, really helping me. It's helping a lot of my clients. So do ask for, don't be shy, especially if you feel like it's gone really well. Why would you not say, hey, can you just give me a couple of lines about what it was like to interview me, or what it was like to cover my story? Okay. So let me give you a testimonial. So all my clients use the Media Machine, but every so often you get an absolute star, don't you? Someone who just like, if I was a teacher, I would give them a massive gold star because they just did everything right. So this is Sandra Namota. She's based over in Vancouver in Canada, and she used the Media Machine, just implemented it so well after the launch of her book. And then within 6 months, she was on nationwide TV in Canada, which, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that is what happens when you just focus. So she focused on her, first of all. She is a plant-based copywriter. She works with plant-based businesses, helps them write their media content, their social media, that sort of thing. So she focused on herself first. Where are the places that she's focused on? She knows that she reads things like plant-based news, Veg Economist. So she approached those people first and impressed them because, well, guess what? She consumes their content. So they were like, oh, wow, this lady isn't just somebody who just wants us to cover her. This lady actually consumes our content, has been consuming our content for many years. Of course, we want to interview her. She made sure she was attracted to the media. Well, she's an author. She's just launched a book. So absolutely, she's newsworthy. She kept her cool. She didn't make herself ill. She paced herself out. She made sure that this was sustainable. She focused close to home. So she actually started to reach out to the local channels. Sandra's quite well connected within Vancouver. So she started local, approaching those newspapers, those TV channels first. She didn't go straight. So this might look impressive because you're thinking, wow, she was on nationwide Canadian TV. That wasn't her first rodeo. It was because of all the stuff that she did locally that built up. So by the time she got to the nationals, they were interested in her. Yeah, she's a young lady, so absolutely she did not forget the internet. She made sure she's been on so many podcasts and so many YouTube shows now. She's very respectful of journalists and producers and influencers and makes sure she gives them absolute notice. She actually started marketing for her book a good 3-4 months before the launch of the book. So she was very respectful and told people what to expect. And she's brilliant at getting endorsements, which what allows her to carry on getting even more media attention. So I hope you can see how it can work. It's not something that happens overnight, but it is a machine. And once you get it going, it gets to the stage where you can now take your foot off the pedal and it still carries on. That's the wonderful thing. I've got clients now, such as Sandra, who don't really have to do much now because they put all this effort in the beginning. It's a bit like trying to roll a boulder down the hill. You know, in the beginning, it's a bit like, you're trying to push this damn thing, but it's not going down the hill. But then it starts to inch a little bit down and a little bit down and a little bit down. And the next thing you know, it starts rolling down by itself and you can't stop it. That's exactly what the media machine is. If you do this and you just do this sustainably and just do a little bit every single day and just keep doing that, trust me, within 6 months or so, you have a machine that seems to be now working by itself. And you don't really have to do much upkeep. You're going to carry on getting media attention. Okay, so I hope that's given you an idea. So let me come out of this for now. I'd love to know your thoughts. Okay, so let me just, oh God, you guys have been busy in the chat, haven't you? So let me have a read of that. Okay, so any questions, first of all? Anyone want to say anything? Or I'd love to know if you've tried any of these tactics before and what you, hello, Katie, lovely to see you. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so I'd love to see what your thoughts are. So Henry Cameron, first of all, you said in the chat how to be your own publicist. Has that helped you a little bit?
Yeah, you know, I have my various plates spinning. And as you said, you know, staying close to home, staying in your circles. And of course, my home is global and my work is virtual. And so, you know, global is local for me. And what I found is that I identify the people that are sort of in the wheelhouse of what I'm putting out there.
Yeah.
And I've sent it to them as a gift and asked them to review it. And then people invariably have started inviting me on podcasts. I'm translating the book into Spanish and I've given it to some local people. Now, when you talk about small, I cannot reiterate enough what you say is absolutely 100% true. I have 700 people in my tiny remote Spanish village, and they all want to read my book. And so I'm translating it. I'm bouncing it off of a couple of friends to make sure my grammar's okay, you know, and they're already talking about it to their friends. Now that's 700 people. I'm not going to say they're all going to read it, but even if it's 20 people, if each of those people talks to one person about your book, that's 40 people who now have access to your book. And if each of those talks, then that's doubled again, doubled again, doubled again. The ripple effect, it's the pebble in the pond, you know. So you're absolutely right about that.
I think we're all guilty of forgetting about, we are, and it's a good thing. We are global citizens now, and it's a good thing, but like, you know, every cloud has a silver lining, where every silver lining has a cloud as well, you know. So on the downsides of being a global citizen is we just think globally now and we forget about what's on our doorstep. Like I said, if you tell me right now what's happened news-wise in the last month in Newcastle and Gateshead, I'll go pass.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you tell me what's happening globally, I can probably give you an idea, or even nationally, I can talk about, oh, we've just had a budget with our new government, and it's not looking good. It seems to be like austerity all over again. I can talk nationally, internationally, locally, no idea what's going on. So yes, so definitely look local. Dawn, you want to say something, my love?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for hosting this today and for allowing me to come on. I'm in a bit of an unusual situation. I write books that they don't follow the mainstream narratives. I've also been traveling nonstop around the world. I've lived and worked in 44 countries, and I see the world through those lenses. And I've just come back to Britain. But there seems, obviously because of all the election stuff going on and all the far right stuff that is a very small minority, what we're finding is a lot of the books that I've written, which do challenge the mainstream narrative, they're not actually getting the exposure that they need. They are getting it under like a lot of the dark web, but it's about how do I get it into the mainstream so that I can make that next level of impact. I mean, they're selling well, but it's just the journals are not really accepting when you're wanting to talk about books about human trafficking and female genital mutilation and rape and racism and terrorism and things like that. So I don't write books that are very easily digestible.
I can tell, but well done, first of all, for approaching those subjects, because those subjects need to.
Someone's got to.
Exactly. And I'm glad you're one of these people who are going for it. I'm sure you get a lot of hate for doing this as well, but it still keeps you going. So I love that. First of all, I would say, who are you approaching? Because those topics are pretty hot, and there is media out there that love topics that make people stop and think. And
yeah, but we have the tall poppy syndrome going on, don't we? You know, you can't and that's the thing. It's like there aren't many women like me who have achieved what I've achieved. And if your press release lands on someone's desk and she's got an issue with you, then it doesn't go anywhere. We've got to be realistic here. I've been in the media for 26 years. And so I'm not new to this. But I am new to British press at the moment.
Yes.
Again, because I've been out of the country. And I'm a really positive person. And all the books I write, they're like, let's take pain and turn it into power. Pain into positivity. So I have a press person who writes all my news releases. I do well in the States and in Canada. But here in Britain, it's like, oh my God, like, I want to bang my head against the brick wall. But then we distribute through Notified. And Notified, as you know, having been a journalist, is one of the largest news wires in the world.
Yes.
So yeah, any ideas?
Oh God, I mean, I didn't realize that. I know that the British media does have a reputation for being the most caustic media in the world, but I wasn't sure. I was sort of like, is that just something it's how British people assume that we're the only ones who talk about weather all the time. It's like, no, lots of people around
we talk about tea as well, let's be honest.
And we talk about tea as well. Most of India talks about tea as well, considering that's where most of it comes from. So sometimes we can be in our little island and we think we're so unique, and we're actually not all that unique at all.
Yeah, no one else cares about the sterling unless it's a British person.
Yeah, but I didn't realize the British media was actually that. We now have actual proof that the British media is different. So I would say, I mean, I assume if you're working with a PR expert who's writing your press releases and sending them out.
But she's baffled.
So is she doing, you know, I talked about newsjacking, something that Katrina Fox does. Has she been doing that? Yeah,
we've been so we've like, for example, we've got a book that's coming out shortly called Owning Our Ovaries, and it's about women who have got to the point where they're like, you know what, I am done with this narrative, or I am done with this lifestyle, whether it's from financial abuse, whether it is from like a story that their parents embedded into them, whether it's somebody who has actually brought down the corruption. We've got a woman from South Africa she has been fighting the system. So it's about women really owning their power. But because of all this transgender thing at the moment, we're really struggling because people are going, well, that's offensive. It's like we tell men to grow a pair,
Mhm.
And that's kind of where it came from, because years ago I was told, oh, you've got a really big pair for a woman. I'm like, yeah, they're called ovaries. And it was such a flippant comment. And here I am 25 years later, and like people go, you really need to write a book about that, Dawn. So like it's going to be, I think it's like my 25th book. And so I'm not new to the publishing, but it just
Yes.
seems that being back in Britain, having just traveled solo nonstop for 7 years, I've come back to a very different animal, because obviously I'm a lot more successful than I was when I left.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to a lot of the world's narratives, because like I said, I see the world through 44 lenses. And as you can probably tell, I say what I think. And we're just like, okay, how do we navigate Wales? I was actually in the process, sorry, how do we navigate the news here? I've just moved to Wales in Cardiff, and I approached one of the top PR companies here,
Yeah.
because Mark, he focuses on the US, and Courtney, she focuses on Canada for me.
Right. Okay.
But the firm here, most of the people that work there are women. And I have completely put their nose out of joint because of, well, don't you think you're something? Was one of the comments I got. And I'm like, oh, wow. Oh,
Really?
wow. Did you really wear that? I think, okay. So, yeah.
You know,
So
the
it's
only advice
interesting.
I can give, it sounds like they're doing everything that I've already talked about. I think for you, it's more of a case of finding the right PR expert. I think that's it. I can put you in touch with a couple that I know. I don't know if there's an alignment there, but they are quite broad-minded. So I would hope if they're friends with me, then they'll be able to cope with you. I mean, you sound like someone that I'd love to have in my network, really, to be honest. You don't
Yeah, I
offend
did
me
just see your
whatsoever.
connection request. Yeah, I did
So
just see that. Thank you.
Kind of freaks me out that there's women who are offended by what you're.
Oh yeah, like they espouse all this female empowerment, but they don't really mean it, do they? But I'm really conscious that a couple of other people have got their hands up, and
let's
really
stay in touch. And what I'll do is I'll put you in touch with a couple. I mean, I can't promise you anything, but by all means, I'll put you in touch with a couple of PR experts that I know and that my clients have used. So
okay.
You know, a lot of my clients then need PR for their books. So when they have a budget for PR, I send them to those people. I'll give you those details and just have a chat with them. It sounds like to me, you just need that one superhero, that one person who really believes you, but has the contacts. And then doors will open for you. It's like that boulder all over again. You're pushing the boulder, you're at the top pushing the boulder. It's like it just ain't bloody well moving, is it? But then when it moves, oh my God, is it going to move?
Yeah, it will do.
I don't want you to stop pushing. I think you just
I won't.
Speaking to the wrong people, that's all. So let me put you in touch with a couple of people.
That'd be great. Thank you so very much, Mitali.
There is a lot of self-censorship in the UK. I posted at the tail end of last week because one of my connections sent me a message on LinkedIn saying that they were dropping the connection with me because I had reacted to a post by somebody else. I don't know if I liked it. I didn't say which post it was, but they said that if any of their employees had written that post, they would have fired them. And I was like going, okay, I had commented and posts. Well, I didn't even say I'd commented. I had reacted to a couple of posts out there about women being more empowered in themselves and a level playing field. And it disgusts me because I've been talking about this since I was 18. I'm now 55. It disgusts me with still having to talk about, because I hate positive discrimination and all of that stuff. We shouldn't need it. But it just spoke to me. And then 2 or 3 other women have commented that they've also had negative comments and feedback and DMs from people who seem to think they can indicate how us little ladies should think. And they've literally been asked, Katrina, one of them had actually been asked, why did she think she was good enough to be on LinkedIn, to post on LinkedIn?
Katrina, I would say if you're getting those kind of comments, you must be doing something right.
That's what, yeah.
If you're not getting comments like that, then you're obviously forgettable and you're obviously unforgettable, Katrina. So keep doing what you're doing. This is what you believe in. You're not, where I have an issue is when people post things just for clicks, clickbait it's called, just
Yeah.
to get a reaction. You're not doing that. You're just being
No.
you. This is what you believe. This is what you like. This is what you dislike. If other people have an issue of that, then you're doing something right. You're actually being authentically you. So
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
them. I was going to say another word, but it's public, so I won't use that word. Stuff. Anyway, I've got a couple of more people who are looking to, before, if it's okay with Katie and Keith, before we do that, I just wanted to show people, anyone who's looking to write a book, I know I've already got a lot of authors already, so it's not for you guys, but there will be a replay that my system will send out tomorrow. So for anyone who's watching this on the replay and is looking to write a book, I want to invite you to come and have a chat with me, have a book idea audit. So if it's okay with you guys, I'm just going to show how people can do that. So let me just go back to my slides very quickly. Okay, so here we go from current slide. Okay, so this is just a small selection of my Hall of Fame, what some of my clients have been able to do. So they've been able to get national media attention, they've been able to get on TV, they've been able to work with influencers. So just to give you an idea of the sort of things that you can do. So I do ask you to come and join me for a book idea audit. We'll be able to look through part one is we'll be able to look at your book ideas and audit them. Make sure that the idea is good. The idea needs to be solid for it to be successful. Otherwise, you're putting a lot of time and effort and money into something that isn't going to work. So if you do have a book idea or several book ideas, come to a book idea audit with me and let me audit those ideas and figure out what is the best one for you. Part two will look at what process you need to help you succeed and make that book a success. And part three, only if I feel and you feel that we're a good fit and we can work together, then I will show you my program, the Thought Leader Ecosystem. We can go through things like how much time it takes, how much it costs, etc., etc. So let me show you how you do that. So all you do is you go to this link. So let me just put this into the chat now for anyone who wants to book a call with me. You just go here and there's a small video, do watch it. It just shows you in detail what we're going to go through so you know exactly the structure of this call. And then also just come down here and just book some time. You know how this works, folks. You know how this works. You just pick a time that works, put in your details, and then it should go into your calendar and it will go into mine. So I'm looking forward to speaking to some of you. Okay, so let me just come out of this. Katie, my love, you've been waiting very patiently.
Hi. So on a smaller scale, because I'm on a smaller business, but in terms of sort of approaching media, what's your sort of thoughts on writing an article and then sending it to, say, magazines that you know, A, that you are related, and B, that your clients are likely to read?
So sorry, say it again. So basically,
if you know that there's magazines and stuff that A, you read, and B, you know your clients base are going to be reading, what's your thoughts on writing that magazine an article without actually being asked and then sending it to them? Is it likely to just end up in an inbox, or?
Well, it's very proactive because journalists, I mean, put it this way, if people started writing some of my articles when I was a journalist, I'd love you to pieces, but like you're doing my job for me. And so that'd be great. But I'm thinking of, if I was being selfish and thinking of who I was 20 years ago, I'd be like, yes, please just send me written articles. And then I don't actually have to do any work. I can just finesse them and then pass it off as my work. But I'm thinking of you, Katie, and yes, that could work. But what you want to do is you need to make sure that whatever you write about is universal enough that you can have that in your back pocket for other places. What I've seen some people do is spend so much time and energy creating an article specifically for a periodical, and that periodical's turned around and said, no, we don't want to cover this. And then it's spending a lot of time and energy up front without knowing whether it's going to work. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I would unless you're writing something very universal that you can then just have in your back pocket, and that you can even, if everyone says no, you wouldn't even mind that going out as a LinkedIn article, for example.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it's okay. But if you're writing something specifically for a periodical, I'd rather you didn't. I'd rather you broach them and give them a synopsis, a paragraph of what you're going to write about, and see if there's interest. If there's interest, then you go and write it. What I don't want you to do is spending half a day writing something and then nothing happens. That's a waste of time and energy.
Also look at their editorial calendars. A lot of
very good. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, answer. Because they'll actually say in they'll actually plan out what theme they're having for each month. And if you fit into September but don't fit into June, then actually contact them and say, look, I've got this. Would this be applicable to you in September? And I've had a lot of success in that in the past when I was working for corporate clients or even small business clients.
Yeah.
Because if
Okay.
it was relevant and because they've put out their themes, their calendar, they really do want content that fits in with that. And they're usually
Okay.
on the bottom of every website.
Thank
So
you for that,
website.
Shane. That's
Right,
that's
okay.
great advice. Really, really good advice. Does that give you?
Yeah,
does that
that's
help you,
great. That's
Katie?
fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Keith, you've been very patient, my love. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Michelle. It does feel like ages since we last spoke, but
See, I was just thinking, it's probably been, is it a year or is it even 2 years since we
it's probably
spoke?
2 years, I think. Yeah,
God,
yeah.
where's that time gone? I'm just getting older and older here. So,
But it's a shame Dawn's gone, because I was just going to say, you know, her one thing for Dawn for sure is her passion in what she believes in is you can just feel it. So it is.
through the screen, I felt it. It was knocking me over. It's amazing. Yeah.
So you know, I think she really should be getting interviews somewhere. A couple of things I was going to say. Well, one was just supporting your idea of going local first. I with the award that's behind me, where I was a finalist, I managed to get a slot on our local radio station, which is very local. It only serves about 8,000 people.
Doesn't
But,
matter.
they gave me a 9-minute interview. Now I was able to reuse that sound as well in different places, so it was well worth doing.
Fantastic.
But the other thing I was going to say, and I don't know whether people are aware of this, is that the BBC have a website called BBC Talent Cloud.
Ooh,
You can register on that and put what you are an expert at, and then when they're in their news programs, if they're looking for an expert in whatever your area is, there's a good chance they contact you because you're there in their system, as it were. It's
fantastic. I didn't know that. That's brilliant. Has everyone got the link is in the chat?
I'll put a link in the chat.
Yeah, I would definitely click on that, folks, and put if you're in the UK. Well, actually, no, even if someone's not in the UK, Keith,
Probably, yeah, probably anywhere, yeah.
yeah, anyway, I've seen the BBC, interview an expert who's in the States or Canada or Australia. So I think all of us should actually thank you very much. See, this is why I love the forum. Can you see? If I was just doing a masterclass, it would just be my intelligence, but there's all this collective intelligence going on that we'd be missing out on. So thank you so much for that, Keith.
So yeah, it's well worth signing up to that. And the other service which I signed up to, which you do have to pay for, but it's a service, I don't know if others have come across it. It's a service called Media Matchmaker. And basically they take journalist requests and then you put what you're good at. They take journalist requests and they send out to you the requests that they think you might be able to help on. Now, I've got to admit that their engine's not great. Sometimes you get something that you think, how the hell does that tie with what I'm doing? I got one recently say, I mean my specialty, you probably tell from behind me, is GDPR and data security. And I got an invite to talk to a journalist about scaffolding, which I was like, so actually I don't know anything at all about scaffolding, but they...
So you and scaffolding, I'm not sure how that's a fit, Keith, but there you go.
But
yeah, basically we have to sift through, it looks like, but still it's at least it's not just like a whole world that you have to approach. So
the other thing I've done from that, Natalia, and it perhaps is a little bit naughty, but I don't see an issue in it, because it gives you journalists contact details, is I actually use that myself to build up a little database of journalists, so that when I have got something to put out, I've got journalist details to send them to.
Love that. Thank you so much. And you've inspired me, Keith. I've just suddenly remembered I actually had a book idea audit yesterday with a wonderful gentleman who's looking to work with me next year. Who's actually in the forum, I think last week or the week before. And he told me he's testing an AI, and I've signed up to now test it. And what it does is it's able to create press releases for you. So I'm going to put the details of that in there. Now, I'm not endorsing this because I've only just signed up, and I'm going to start testing over the next couple of weeks. But what from this gentleman tells me is it's really, really good, and it's able to create press releases and newsletters on the fly. But it's not, before you worry and think, oh God, if it's going to be AI, it's going to be generic stuff. No, it takes, you basically input all of your context, and then it creates it in the right format. So it's still got your soul in it. It's not going to sound like your typical ChatGPT, you know, I hope this newsletter finds you well. It's like, I would never actually say that, you know, it's not going to be like that. It's going to sound like you. So that's in the chat as well. If you guys also want to start testing it, I think there's like a 2-week trial that you can do to see if you like it before you want to commit further to it. But thank you so much for that, Keith. I really appreciate it. Okay. Oh my God. I could run this forum for about 2 hours, and I think you guys will still be here, aren't you? It's always great because people are still here. Like normally, like sometimes you have, you know, you start strong for 20 minutes and then you go to events where people start disappearing, but you guys are all still here. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you got lots out of it. There's lots going in the chat that I haven't even been able to answer. So if I see anything that needs answering, I will get in touch with you personally and answer those questions if you weren't able to get the answer here. Okay. But thank you so much for coming. And yes, hope to see you at a future forum. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the week.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Thanks for time.